Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of Let's Create. And we have a special treat today. I'm here with
Andy Rumsey.
Andy Rumsey at the Spokane Public Library. And my name is Dan Roeder. I am the Chief Academic Officer for the David Z Foundation, where we transform lives through the magic of music. And we're actually mixing a track right now that we just shot for a song in California. It's called Reckless, but this is like a legit studio. So I'm sure Andy can tell us more about that. But I want to pass the mic over to Donna, and then she'll introduce our wonderful guests.
All right, my name is Donna Guerin, founder of Global Lighthouse Studios. We connect teachers and students around the world through the lens of music and the arts. And we are excited today to have a special guest, Mr. Daniel Boyd, who will be here today and will be joining our wonderful show, which we will start off with slideshow roulette. But first, I'll let Dan introduce himself.
Hello. I am Daniel Andrew Boyd. My expertise is in oral storytelling. I produce live shows here in Chicago. During the shutdown, we were like, what are we going to do? And so what we decided to do was take some time, think about everything we hate about writers' workshops and reinvent the writers' workshop, taking out everything that we hate. And so we did that for a little over a year, having people on weekly. And the main thing that we hate is that most writers' workshops, you get 10 students and one teacher, and every day you try to run through as many students as possible. And so they go up, they read their 5 pages, and then the students would just go blah, 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 for 3 minutes. You have 9 other students giving as much advice as possible. The teacher says nothing, and you got to sit down, and you're trying to process all the information that you got. Was it good advice? Was it bad advice? Why didn't the teacher say anything? And while you're thinking about that, the next person is reading their story, and you're like, I've got to think of something really cool to say to them. And you're listening to everybody else give advice, and you're like, I can't say the same thing that they're saying. I got to think of something else. I wasn't even paying attention to the story. And so we took all that out. And what we would do is we would just have one person, and we'd have a panel of experts, and we'd sit with them with a story for about 90 minutes. And instead of having to wait a week, we would give them a bunch of advice, and then we'd give them 15 minutes to set aside to go try to work that advice into their story and have them come back and tell it. And we could see as teachers how our information immediately, they didn't have to wait a week for us to be like, oh, you heard me say this. What I actually meant was that. And we could get that, both of us could get that immediate feedback. So when things opened up, I was like, I just love this. I want to keep doing this. And all the rest of my friends at Storyluck, we're a nonprofit, we're a 501c3. We're like, I want to go do live things again. So in 2022, I took it upon myself to do 1,000 one-on-one free storytelling coachings. And that is a big part of what I do. And you can always sign up for that. There's links in my Twitter at Storyluck. And I'm happy to sit with you for an hour and help you tell any story you want that's about your life. And I'll just help you sort of solidify that. And then the main thing we do is now I teach this in a longer course if people so desire. But if you get an hour, I guarantee you will be 100 times better than if you don't do an hour.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I knew some of what you did, but I didn't know all the details. And Andy did some quick math, like 1,000 coachings, that's 3 a day, in a year. So
yeah, it was pretty intense.
Wow. No, that's amazing. I just want to say hello to Vladimir. We've got Vladimir here live with us, streams and streams. And yeah, let's go. So speaking of let's go, Donna, I think we have our game that we like to start with. I can't wait actually to hear Dan's now. So Andy and I are going to do a little joint slideshow roulette. We'll we can just alternate slides. Yeah. So Dan, we're going to be presenting 5 slides we've never seen before. You get to pick the topic. What are we presenting about? And so just random talk of it. What do we got?
Well, my next project that I am working on is a book club that's going to launch in a few days, and I'll give you the sneak peek to the link a little bit later in the show. So, book clubs is the topic.
All right, here we go. Yeah, I'll let
All
you
right.
start, Andy, since you're so excited about talking about book clubs.
Yeah.
All right,
All
let's
right,
go. Let her rip, Donna.
All right, so book clubs, and let me go ahead and set my timer because it's supposed to be 30 seconds, right?
Supposed to be.
It's supposed to be. All right, I'm just going to let it rip. Oop. All right, here we go.
Yeah, so the best part about book clubs is well, they help you relax. So this next book club that we have is actually a destination book club. We have reserved a I've seen
Well, and
yes.
so relax, but you can't let yourself relax too much. You sometimes have to put yourself right in the middle of danger.
Yes, with traffic, oncoming traffic. We hired a frog. It's a celebrity frog, like Animals of Hollywood. Will be taking pictures.
And he will lead us on a haunted tour through our imagination, where we will be reading the haunted sunset of Notre Dame Mansion.
It's actually a sequel. Not a lot of people know that. And after we're done, we're just going to get on some luges with wheels, like street luges, and we're going to luge through a tunnel. It's downtown Brooklyn. Should be really fun at night. Low visibility. Usually the
All right, that's like way over time. So we'll do a minute. So that was excellent.
Okay.
Guys. That was a great
I was like, this is a really long 30 seconds.
I just kept it going. I was like, well, they're going with it, so I'm going to roll with it.
Initially,
All right.
I thought it was 30 seconds of slide.
A slide.
So
Just
I was
keep
doing
going.
Oh,
something.
Yeah.
gotcha.
No,
Oh,
no,
yes.
Here we
The
go.
whole
Yes.
thing. Yeah, we go
No,
for
the
it.
whole thing.
All right,
No,
Dan's
so-
got his water. He's getting hydrated. All right,
Yeah, I'm
Andy,
ready.
what should our topic be for Dan?
Well, I mean, the election's right around the corner, so
Ooh,
this
you
is
went there.
But this is simply going to be just civics.
Civics.
Just civics.
Civics.
All right,
Civic
just civics.
connections.
Okay, hold on. All right, here we go.
All right, what am I looking at?
Looks like
Bacon.
bacon.
Listen. Somebody said don't put lipstick on a pig, but you always have to roil it up and putting bacon on a pig, turning a pig into bacon. That is everybody but vegans and vegetarians' favorite thing to do. Here we have a sunny day destroyed by clouds. And, sometimes when you're doing your civic duty, that's what it feels like. If you don't do your civic duty, if you don't vote, that's really what a lot of people will tell you. This is the disaster that's going to happen to your life. But the truth is probably not. Probably what you're going to be doing, spending the rest of your day, if you're not voting, is hanging out at the library, reading books. And that's almost as wonderful as standing out from the crowd. If you don't vote, you actually aren't standing out from the crowd. Most people don't.
That's awesome. That's time. Excellent
Well
job.
played. Well played, Dan. That's
That was
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah, so as we kind of start to trail this off, not trailing off, taper this off is what I was thinking. I just Dan, if you could let us know one more time where folks can find you, and then I'm curious about how do you think people can get started with creativity? Like if they feel stuck,
creativity in
get
general.
unstuck.
Man, that's like so broad.
Well, let's say you're writing. Let's say writer's block.
But I'm interested in this topic, and is that like with your interaction with people, is that where you feel like they're starting? Like, is that your demographic? Like, people are like, I don't even know. I like feel like I'm creative. Like, I want to be creative, but I don't know what the next step is. Is that where people
Very
are getting
often,
stuck for you?
And it can look like we've heard kind of two different ways. And sometimes it's like, I don't know where to start. And so other times it's like, I have too many starting point places and I get overwhelmed.
Sometimes I feel
Yeah.
like it's people that don't know they have a right to be creative.
Yeah, yeah. I think I am always surprised that in the storytelling realm, where people are like, I don't have any stories to tell. And it's just like, that's not how we're wired. Like, that's impossible. You woke up, like you had dreams. You know what I mean? Like story is that interesting thing where we just can't help ourselves. It's happening all the time. It is basically like you're telling stories in your head all the time, and then you're so exhausted, you fall asleep, and then your stories just get wilder.
I love that. Yeah. Like you said,
So
everyone's a storyteller, right?
yeah, it's just there. The only problem is we don't do a good job of teaching it. Because we're so inundated with it and everybody does it all day, every day, all the time, and everybody's thinking in that way, it feels so automatic. It's like we don't need to talk about it. And I think people get lost there. Like and it feels like this, like what I'm doing isn't what I see the experts do. Oh, what I'm doing, I'm not, writing a novel. I'm not looking at a book. And so the first place to start is, I think, is just to start with friends, and start to try to notice those times of I did something and I'm excited to talk about it. That's where the germ of the story is for me, is like I'm out in the world and I see something and I'm like, I can't wait to call Adam and tell him. I can't wait to call my sister and be like, guy, you won't believe what I saw today. And that's a good place to start with story. And I could imagine it being a place to start with creativity for a lot of things. Like what is the little thing that happened in the day? There's a storyteller, Matthew Dix. He does storytelling for life. And his main thing is to do a little journaling where he's like, at the end of the day, just write down one sentence that says, this is the most story-worthy thing that happened to me today. And I think you can sort of train yourself to notice those pretty quickly.
Yeah, well, based on what you said and then what Andy was saying before, like giving ourselves that license for creativity, I think for myself, very often I don't have the wait time between thoughts. And I feel like if I don't say everything right now, then people won't be paying attention. Or, I don't think I really think that, but that's how it can sometimes feel when everyone is listening to us, like staying in that moment, being able to take a breath and have some silence for things to land. There is this amazing creator on X, Conrad. I know that he's been in the ITT spaces. When he speaks, there's always just enough time for that cognition after, and it's sublime. And so I can just feel like this is the time I'm supposed to be processing. And here's another thought. And in education, we call that wait time for things to land. But I think that's something that I'm trying to work on, is giving that time to think and not filling it with ums, buts, or whatever.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In the terms of music, do you feel like it's like really easy? Everybody was on board. Like we all tell stories. Do you think everybody is musical? Do you think everybody should write a song in their lifetime?
What do you think, Andy? I want you to answer that first.
A friend of mine, this goes back to kind of what I said before, but regarding music specifically, if I took some time off, and a friend of mine who I was in a band with said, as a human being, music is your birthright. Like everybody can make music, and every culture across the world, across history, has some form of music. So I think that every individual has a different inclination towards it, or a different level of inclination. But I think everybody has more to offer than they think they do with music. And I think trying it out is worth it. Some people never give themselves a chance to try what it's like to make a song. And people, we deprive ourselves of all sorts of opportunities because we're afraid or whatever the justifications are. But I think everyone should try it once because you never know until you try it.
Yeah, no, that was just, it got me thinking about, I did a tone poem a few years ago called Silent Lotus, and it's based off of a Cambodian folktale of this girl who is deaf and mute. And so she wanted to be a dancer, and her family was saying, why would you ever want to be a dancer? You can't even hear the music. And then she said, well, I can feel it, because she could put her ear to the ground and she felt the
Yeah.
rhythm. Yeah. And so the whole story is about her finding this confidence to say, I know what I want to do. I know how music moves me. And then she became like the court's finest dancer. And so in the tone poem I wrote for orchestra, it starts with like a solo alto flute. And then by the end, it's like this raucous, like percussion section going along with it. But to me, music is, the definition of music is organized sound and silence. So if we are able to understand organized sound and silence, which another example of that is speech, then we're musicians. So that's what I think. I think we're all inclined to music, but we have our different ways of exhibiting it.
That was really
Yeah.
well said.
Donna, what do you think? I'm curious. What's your answer?
Well, you know me. I'm always like, everyone's a creator. I don't care if you're 3 or 103. Everyone should have the opportunity in their life to create something, whether that's music, any other type of art. I just think it's very important to, just like you physically exercise, I feel like it's really important to exercise that creative part of your brain, and to bring that alive for young people, which is why in teaching, I bring creativity into my classroom. I don't care which classroom I'm in or what age group I'm in. I just feel like it's very important to give students an opportunity and give people an opportunity to, have some time in their life where they can be creative.
Yeah. I think sometimes along with that permission, and I'm going to sort of shoehorn my plug in here, is that we like not only permission, but sometimes you want a person to poke you and like really drag you. There's always this talk about like, oh, I want to be the person who pulls himself by his bootstraps. And I had a conversation that was powerful to me back in college where a guy was like, the thing about the Army is, what would it be like if somebody was paid $80,000 a year just to make you awesome? Like, how awesome would you be if just there's a whole team of people and all they did was like sit around and kick your ass and make you do the things that you didn't want to do? And so a little bit, that's the thinking behind my next project, which is a book club. And it's like, we're calling it detention. So you don't have to read the book, but everybody's got to show up to detention. Like, that's just it. And I'm getting professors to come read the books, and then we're going to discuss them. So whether you read the book or not, you get sort of this close into it. And then we're building a Discord around helping people with accountability and having discussions inside along the way to be like, get you ready. We're doing it in 3 book cycles, so it'll be over 3 months. And the other thing we're saying is like, so I've done all this research to be like, what do people like about book clubs? What don't they like about it? And there's a lot of push-pull where people are like, I love reading and I want to talk about the book, but as soon as it's an assignment, I'm like, I can't do homework. If it's called homework, I can't do it. And that book gets pushed. And then I show up to the book club and I don't have anything to say. And then they talk about it. The book sounds awesome. So I want to read the book. And then there's a new book that I need to push. And it's just this bad cycle. So we're doing 3 book cycles. And if you've read any of the 3 books, we're there. We've read them. We have like in-depth knowledge about all 3 books already. We can talk about any of those books. So, and if you don't read it, you're going to learn a lot. And maybe you'll get so excited, you'll read it and then come back and talk about it in the next month. You'll get 3 chances to talk about any of the 3 books.
That is so cool. And that really has a lot of low stakes practice built into it, which I think that's where a lot of people get afraid of creativity. That's what started this whole slideshow roulette game. It's low stakes practice in public speaking. You just know
Yes.
that it's going to be awful, and then you embrace the yuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to say hi to Christy Cohen is here from Facebook. Hey, Christy. And
Christy.
yeah,
so you can follow
for being here. There's 40 people here.
Yeah, so I'm at Storyluck on all social media. You can find me on Facebook for those watching there. It's a little bit harder to find me on YouTube, but we are there. You can find us at Storyluck. Yeah, one of the other things that I think happens in that dynamic is we're always comparing ourselves to people who are way too far ahead, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to do that. And we underestimate how good you are quick. So at 200 hours studying anything, you are a top 10%er in the world. Because the thing is, nobody works on anything. Nobody spends 200 hours on anything. So if you like practice saxophone for 200 hours, you're one of the best saxophone players in the world. Because nobody plays saxophone, and even things that people do, it's like we think of running as ubiquitous. And if you look at it, not that many people actually get up in the morning, go running. There's 8 billion people, and there's not 1 billion people who run. So like just doing it a little bit, you are amazing to all the people who have never done it before.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I was just thinking of to the fact that you call it detention. It already shakes off that, kind of elevated book club, like you don't want to fall behind. It's like the Breakfast Club for
yes.
Awesome.
Well, that was our other thing. It's like, where do the cool kids hang out? It is in detention.
I love that.
That is so true. Fun. Well, yeah. So everybody, please go ahead and find at Storyluck on different social media platforms, and I'm sure that you can coach some awesomeness. Like you were saying before, and that's thank you so much for being our guest today. And I was so glad we were able to make it work with the trial run Friday. But
right.
That's another part of low stakes practice is you have the tenacity to just be like, well, let's do it next time. So Andy, Donna, Dan, any closing thoughts? Or
yeah, I love this idea of this podcast that you guys are doing, the streaming show, and just being a place where people can come on and encourage everyone who's listening to be like, what's the thing that you're working on? And I will just double down. If you have a creative project that you're working on and you want to bounce ideas off of somebody, we were talking about in the beginning, like, who's the friend you want to call? I love being the friend that you want to call. So find me on Twitter, find me on Facebook, find me on YouTube, wherever, and just send me, be like, this is a cool story that I have, and just hit me with it. And I will read it and give you comments, and we'll hang out.
Awesome. Andy, did you have any closing thoughts?
I was just thinking of a book that I worked my way through during the pandemic because I had taken a break off from like putting out an album and stuff. And I found myself at home with a lot more time. And it's called The Artist's Way. And it has you do morning pages. It has all these assignments. So it's still low stakes because it's just you working through this book, but it feels like you have a person, kind of like you're talking about, that's just there to kick your ass and make you awesome. And you find that when you write like a couple of pages every day in a journal, that you start being able to articulate what you're feeling and what you're thinking a lot better. And if you can do that to yourself, then you're going to have a much easier time communicating with other people and articulating what's going on in here and in here to the rest of the world. So The Artist's Way, very good workbook. I highly recommend.
Nice. But I just quickly wanted to give props to Spokane Public Library because that's where we are. We're like in a legit recording studio right here within the library. So if you have not checked out your local library, a lot of libraries are really upping their game by having media studios. So there's a podcast studio here, there's a radio station, there's a green screen film studio, and there is this studio, which is the main studio, and then a personal studio, like where you can just go in and sign up for time, and they have a setup there that's self-guided. So pretty amazing things you can get with your library card. So, oh, do you have anything?
Oh, and we're lucky. We have a beautiful stage that overlooks Spokane Falls too. So we have concerts here pretty much once a month and other events.
An open mic night every other Wednesday.
Who's the host of that?
I'm the host.
Oh,
Yeah. So yeah, we actually have 5 in October because there's a 5 Wednesday month. We've got a spooktacular on October 30th. So those of you who are Spokane local, Donna, over to you to close the show because I know we're already a little bit over. So any closing thoughts, Donna, before we bid adieu?
I guess just my challenge for this week is it is World Space Week. So go out and write a story about space. That's my challenge for today, being that it is World Space Week and I like to celebrate. It's also Dyslexia Week, Dyslexia Awareness Week as well. So just go out and write some stories about space. That would be awesome. And if you want to share them with us, even better. We'd love to be able to amplify your story and bring it to us. Why not? And remember, stories don't always have to be words. Sometimes you can tell stories with pictures. Sometimes you can tell stories with music. So go be creative and go tell us a story.
That's awesome. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
All right.
Do it. All right.
I love it. All right.
We'll see everybody Wednesday for Wednesday Watch.